Words for Chrysler creditors after the White House deal to keep that company out of bankruptcy fell through. But did the White House go so far as to actually threaten those investors? Tom Lauria, a lawyer representing some of the creditors, says yes, and now reveals that some of those creditors have even received death threats in the wake of the Chapter 11 filing. Tom Lauria is my guest now on set. Tom, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So you've got a big role in this bankruptcy. I just want our viewers to understand who you are. You work for White & Case,
right,
which is a very well-respected law firm nationally, internationally. You head up the bankruptcy practice there?
I do. I'm global head of the firm's restructuring practice.
So just so our viewers know, that's not an easy position to get. You got to have some credentials behind you to get that role. So congrats to you on that.
Well, thank you.
Now there's a firestorm, and you're the person in the center of it. So let me just cut to the chase.
A lot of fun.
I know the White House has come out and denied it. Do you stand by your initial statement that the White House threatened your clients, certain creditors, if they did not go along with the White House deal?
Well, listen, I have a former client in connection with this matter who continues to be a client of the firm in other matters. Is very unhappy with the attention that they've been getting about all this, and so I have no comment on the topic at this point.
So you won't tell us whether you'll stand by the earlier statements you made?
I will. I have no comment on the topic.
Have they been leaning on you, Tom?
I have no comment on the topic. I'm sorry, but I just really think it's inappropriate for me to continue talking about that particular aspect of this thing at this point in the process.
So, and that one former client is Perella Weinberg. That's the client you made the statements about. You have other clients who are involved in this.
I do.
Okay, so let's talk about them.
Great.
Were they pressured by the White House?
Well, the pressure has been, I guess, indirect. They all felt like they were kind of called out by President Obama when he made his announcement of the bankruptcy last Thursday, specifically referring to them as the speculators who forced the bankruptcy and refused to make any concessions to allow Chrysler to reorganize. In fact, they had agreed to take 50% on their claims, even though the first claims in the priority of claims against Chrysler.
They were first in line to get money, and they were willing to take half of what they were owed.
And still allow over $20 billion of payments to be made to junior creditors, which, I don't know how you characterize that as anything but a concession. But the thing is, interestingly, with the president saying publicly, I do not stand with those people, it kind of opened the floodgates for, the crazies out there to take shots. And these folks have received death threats, promises that thugs would be arriving at their homes and threatening the health of them and their families. And, I think probably everybody, but in particular the president, would feel pretty bad if some nutjob really did do something.
Now, we remember President Obama standing there and saying, I do not stand with them. Were you surprised when he did that, or had you been forewarned by the car czar, Steve Ratner, this is going to happen unless you come along?
Totally surprised. I mean, I've been, in this practice area for almost 23 years. And, every time you think that you've seen everything, you see something new. And I can tell you for sure that I have never been representing creditors or any stakeholder in a bankruptcy case or a restructuring and been called out directly by the President of the United States.
Right. And leading up to that moment that we all saw on Fox as the President made those remarks and made no bones about how angry he was with those creditors for holding out, I know that you had negotiations with Steve Ratner. He's the guy, so our audience knows, who's the car czar, and he's the person tasked by the White House with negotiating with you lawyers who are representing the creditors and others on this Chrysler deal. Had Steve Ratner made perfectly clear to you that there would be consequences, public consequences, if you did not go along with the deal?
Well, I want to be clear about a couple of things. We were negotiating through the agent for the secured bank debt over the past several weeks prior to the bankruptcy. We hit a point where it became apparent that the TARP part of the bank group, there are 4 lenders, there's an 8-person steering committee. 4 were TARP lenders, 4 were non-TARP lenders.
And there's no TARP lenders, just to refresh them. Those are the banks that have taken money from the government, so they're not all that independent right now.
Right, correct. We kind of hit a fork in the road where they were willing to take a deal that we viewed as not economic, not consistent with the law, not consistent with business practice, And the non-TARP members were not willing to take that deal. They were saying, look, we'll do something here, but it has to be something that we can justify as being commercially reasonable to our investors to whom we owe fiduciary duties.
Right.
Now, that's the thing that I think a lot of people have overlooked here, is that although they've been referred to as hedge funds, that's a bad word these days, I guess, their money, people ought to think about where their money comes from. It's other pension funds, it's retirement plans, it's college endowments, it's personal retirement plans. And a question that I think everybody can ask is, why would the administration select to favor one group of pensioners and retirees effectively over another?
Meaning the union pensioners and retirees.
When the group that should be favored has a legal contract that says their money is supposed to come out first. So why is the administration taking sides?
Did you ask Ratner that?
We have I want to be clear. I guess I was telling part of a story, didn't get to the end. We reached out relatively late in the process when we saw things were breaking down to try to open a direct line of communication with the task force. And we were told that the task force, well, first of all, they asked us to submit our proposal, which we did to Steve Ratner's assistant. And then there was no response. We got a U.S. congressman involved in the loop to try to get some communication going. We thought that was going to be productive. There was no response. We kept reading wire reports that negotiations were going late into the night, and I was sitting at my office talking to my clients, but my phone was not ringing from the task force. And somewhere in the middle of the night, I got an email saying, we don't negotiate with anybody who's not an official representative, and we're not going to talk to you. And so it was, you've heard of the Heisman?
Yeah.
That's what we got. We got the Heisman. And I do have to say that based on the fact that we had made a proposal that was a substantial concession against our legal rights, I was quite shocked to see the next day that the news report from the White House was that we're the evil speculators who forced Chrysler to file bankruptcy.
Do you think, you talked about the death threats that some of your clients have gotten now, in the president coming out himself, the president himself coming out against them, and whatever other statements have been made out of the administration. Do you think that they have a handle on what consequences those remarks have reaped for real live people who you represent?
Well, I hope they do. We've tried to communicate that. We've told the bankruptcy court, we're required under the bankruptcy law to make a disclosure of who our clients are. And we're going to be filing a motion in the bankruptcy court today at noon asking that we be able to file that disclosure under seal, laying out the issues and threats that some of my clients have been confronted with, and asking that the court prevent, for now at least, that list from being made public.
Okay, let me ask you one, because I know you're in a position where you don't want to contradict your client, because your client now, the stuff we started with at the beginning. But I want to ask you this. The White House has now come out and essentially called you a liar, because you earlier said that they made direct threats against one of your clients. And they have said, and I quote, that is completely untrue. That's from the Deputy Press Secretary, Bill Burton, at the White House. Can I ask you this? Have you made public statements that are untrue?
It's kind of another way of getting to the same question. I really don't want to comment, but I'm sure that if people keep pressing one way or another, the truth is going to come out.
Well, let's hope they do. That's all we're after here
in
America's Newsroom. Tom, thanks so much for being here. All the best to you. I know you have your hands full.
Thanks.
We appreciate it.